Matt, you can definitely speak to that because you were part of our panel prior to the midterm elections where we discussed the significance of having a President Biden versus a President Sanders and who was going to side with the workers versus the oligarchs. Biden chose to side with the oligarchs, and now you have this devastating circumstance that has befallen upon people, not just in East Ohio, but in parts of Western Pennsylvania, Northern Kentucky. It is a serious, serious problem, and it's only going to get worse and worse unless there is a major stand made right now. Although, as we obviously have people in the chat pointing out, the president is not even in the United States at the moment, much less in East Palestine. This is a very serious problem, and I don't really see an end in sight. And while we are constantly distracted about the riffraff in politics, this is the real stuff that matters. Yeah. This is the stuff that affects everybody's daily lives. And lo and behold, Norfolk Southern is a major, major donor to both the Dems and the GOP.
Absolutely. And that was the private chat, was the article about the donations to DeWine. If you guys have seen, it's very frustrating because, I'd like to demand that our regulators begin to regulate, public servants start to serve the public. We can do better. And these examples, the Obama era regulations that were watered down by us and then eliminated under Trump, they could have had effect here. And we really have suffered the consequence of unlimited campaign finance and lobbying and the people just are not being heard, and real labor is suffering because of it.
Yeah, something that's also really frustrating from our side, from the political side, is that even representatives that aren't on the corporate bill still did not stand up for labor. And the fact that they all just sort of fell in line and nobody was, it was very disappointing to me. And this should not even be a partisan thing at all. Like, I don't even know why it's even talked about that way.
Because again, one side, it's like the argument between DeWine and the argument between Biden. The goal of the two-party duopoly is to see who is going to be holding the bag when the lights come on. It's like, is it going to be the Dems? Is it going to be the GOP?
They're all the same.
They don't give a damn as long as they're not the ones blamed for it. Just like you've got people running cover for Pete, just as much as you've got people running cover for DeWine. That's how this works. And all the while, workers get screwed and oligarchs keep getting fatter with cash.
Something else I wanted to say to Mary Lee, we were talking about the rural, the farmers, this is their livelihood, is that people think, oh, people could just leave. Well, you could just leave. And there's people, they're like, our friend Jordan interviewed a guy who has a fox rescue. He has like an animal rescue there, and there's something, and all the animals are sick and having neuro damage. And, you can't just pick up and go. Like, that's not like, it's just, this is crazy.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's absolutely crazy once you get a picture of the scope of this. Imagine this going on across this country, 3,000 miles from coast to coast, and from the Canadian border all the way to the Mexican border. These types of non-investment, not taking care of the safe operation of the railroads it is going on across the country. Many, many derailments don't get publicity. There are hundreds of derailments every year, including these kinds of dangerous chemicals. And yet these alleged regulatory agencies, and I truly mean alleged, I do not feel that the FRA has regulated anything. I think it's absurd that you have a rule for 4 years and then you don't have a rule for 4 years. Like the brakes, the electronically controlled pneumatic brakes, which would have, I think, undoubtedly helped to mitigate the disaster that this was, because it's a far more advanced braking system that the railroads have been promoting at least since 1994, when I know the BN did. They had a whole setup in their engine training place in Kansas City, Overland Park. They were proud of it. And then when it began to, the whole entire railroad industry turned toward the PSR model, all that was thrown away in this almighty quest and competition between what is now 7 Class 1 railroads for shares of the market, for profit, for greed. And all that stuff went by the way. It's insane that in a country, you can have a rule that changes every 4 years on something as dramatically as important as the safe transportation of commodities via rail. So I think everything is on the table, not just the politicians that from neither party, neither of the 2 electoral parties stood up for rail workers. They're not going to stand up for safety. They're all going to be yapping quite a bit right now because their feet are to the fire. Our job is to put more than their feet to the fire to demand that the rail companies be held accountable for the entire PSR model and the scourge that has been placed on working people, from rail workers to our brothers and sisters in East Palestine today and in Lac Megantac, Canada. And I butcher these names, so I apologize if I don't pronounce things right. The bomb train that exploded there, the town was decimated, just blown up off the face of the earth. These are the issues that we need to come together on, fight together as in common to put our own perspective forward. RWU has begun a campaign to raise the ideas of the railroads being publicly owned. We already know the railroads cannot run the railroads because they run them based on nothing but profit. But we have to convince the American people that what we need is to take it out of the hands of these profiteers and put it under a democratic, in my opinion, elected body that has to be open, transparency, open books, open meetings to see how to move forward on creating a more safe environment for rail. I just think that we've been doing it for many years, trying to hang our hat kind of on a regulatory agency that has refused, quite frankly, to really regulate anything.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.